guessing if you clicked on this video, maybe you're someone who has possibly played around with the Ouija board before. So I'm going to tell you my story at the end of this video about what happened when my husband and I played around with the Ouija board years and years and years ago. So stay tuned for that. And then I just thought I would get into this a little bit. I don't know how this idea came to me. I was reading a story in a book that is sort of an unlikely book that I would be reading to begin with. It's called the Jesus Revolution, and it's about Lonnie Frisbee. And I knew nothing about Lonnie Frisbee before I started reading this book, and he is a complete character. So I do recommend the book. It's entertaining. It is about him. He would go around and preach and convert people, and it's I've just made it through book one. There are 3 books, and I devoured it. I thought it was really good. But there's a story in here about the Ouija board that I just keeps coming to my mind, and it's almost Halloween, and I just thought, well, all right, we'll just throw this little bit about the Ouija board in there. So because of the way this book is written, it meanders around all over the place. It it will start to go into the story and then sort of backtrack over into some other part of Lonnie's life. And so I'm going to just kind of paraphrase and read little bits about this. So basically, what happened, this is on page 108. There was a woman named Lacey who had started out by playing around with the Ouija board. And then she had gotten really into black magic, and apparently a whole circle of coven of witches, and she was getting ready to take be initiated into some deeper part of this occult, and she had a vision, and in the vision she saw a number 5402941. And when she went and asked her Ouija board what it meant, it spelled out, it means your death. So Lacey freaked out about this, and somehow it came to her that these numbers might be a phone number. So she dials the number, and she gets Lonnie Frisbee on the phone. I'm not making this up. Calvary Chapel. That is the phone number that came to her in this vision, was for Calvary Chapel. And he was really the founder of all of these. There's like 1,000 of these chapters of these Calvary chapels. And I'm not real familiar with this sort of thing. This is kind of a new avenue, new information that's coming to me. But this guy is a complete character. So she keeps calling the phone number and she can't speak, but Lonnie Frisbee keeps answering the phone. She dials and hangs up and dials and hangs up, and this goes on for a while. And somehow she looks up Calvary Chapel, finds out where it is, and decides, I think it was the next day, that she needs to try to go there to the Calvary Chapel. And let's see, where's that part? Then she tries driving there. She makes it to where the church is, and she can't turn into the parking lot. She goes around the block 5 times before she's able to turn her car into the parking lot. And then she parks, but then she can't get out of her car. And so here I'll pick up the story where that so now um Lonnie Frisbee, someone has noticed this woman outside freaking out in the car. So somebody in the office noticed a woman absolutely freaking out in a car. An assistant pastor and I looked out the window and saw a woman trying to get out of her car. She was crying and making all sorts of wild motions inside of her vehicle. It looked like she was definitely in desperate trouble. The pastor and I went out and I opened the car door. The woman looked up at me and I was shocked. She had shaved her eyebrows off and painted on these real wicked looking witch eyebrows. Most shocking of all were her eyeballs themselves. They were dancing like the flames of a candle. Only each eye was dancing to a different rhythm. I have never seen anybody's eyeballs do what her eyes were doing. They were flickering like candles, but they were doing it together. It was mesmerizing, like one moth, but like once a moth must have once it flies toward a flame. When I saw her eyes dancing around, I knew she was definitely possessed by a powerful spirit. I had not seen evidence of such an overwhelming demonic presence since working in the Haight Ashbury with some of Anton LaVey's cohorts. So he tries to touch her and she screams every time he touches her. And the rest of the story goes through a series of um, exorcisms for this woman to get the spirits out of her. I want to say there were 5 of them. And he talks a fair bit about deliverance ministry in this book where they do this sort of work to get spirits out of people. So I'm not going to dive quite into like what I'm going to say about Ouija boards as far as my warnings, but I will tell you what happened. My husband and I years ago. This was a long time ago. We were like 20 in our early 20s, and we were living in this tiny little apartment. And I'm sure it was probably me that had brought this Ouija board home. And we were playing around with it. And there was another, I want to say there were 2 other friends there. So this one girl, I do remember that she was there and she started, but for some reason, I think there was another person there. So this girl, she started, we did get a spirit on the Ouija board. The thing started moving around and we're asking it questions and stuff. And she was doubting the existence of the spirit and insulting it. And the thing was getting really erratic on the board. And the whole thing was just getting weirder and weirder. And finally we're like, oh, we stopped doing it. And we went outside. I think even the door to the front was open because this was a tiny little apartment. And our Toyota pickup was parked right outside and it started on its own rolling down the hill. My husband had to go run and catch it, jump in. No, I had no idea how this happened. So after that, we never played around with the Ouija board again. The thing, I got rid of it. That was it. That was a long time ago. I do not touch those things. So now though, fast forward to, I'm in my 50s and have done a lot of this kind of training and communicating with the spirit world. So I think the intrigue that gets missed about why would you want to even play around with the with the Ouija board. And I think it's really the very, very beginning of it. Is the spirit world real? Is it a real thing? Are there really actually spirits, ghosts? That is intriguing to people. And it starts off as something really just literally that innocent. Um, Other ways that people start off would be like automatic writing, that type of thing, using a pendulum. And once you know that the spirit world is real, there's like you can jump off and go in all kinds of different directions. So, this is really where my actual warning comes in. There is something very odd about the Ouija board itself, and I meant to kind of look more into the history of how it was created. So I would not touch a Ouija board. I know my husband used to watch these like these ghosts. It was like a ghost hunting show on the Travel Channel. What's her name? Amy Allen, I think. And she would be able to tell. She'd go into a house and she would be able to tell if there was a Ouija board anywhere in the house. She would find these things, find them under the couch or something, and it does do something. It I've heard it said that it opens up a vortex, and I just did a blog post about this crazy vortex that I saw when I remotely looked at the energy for the Superstition Mountains in Arizona. So I will link to that. And I saw just this crazy, massive vortex. I've really never seen anything like it. So you do not want to be messing around with these Ouija boards. I cannot tell you exactly what it is that goes on and why it is like that, but don't do that. If you want to develop your intuitive skills, I think it's imperative to do that at this time. But what I'm seeing, what I saw with that vortex in the Superstition Mountains, and it's lining up with a lot of other information that's been coming to me over a period of time. There are a lot of beings here. They're uh, they're flooding onto the earth. I don't know. I can't really specifically talk more about why that is happening, but there are a lot of spirits. There are a lot of people who have died who, for whatever reason, are stuck here, and it does seem to be a lot of activity that's increasing right now. So don't mess around with Ouija boards. I wouldn't even be really messing around with automatic writing. You want to be coming at this from a completely different angle. And for me, once I started doing the clairvoyant training, and I'll link to the different classes that I took, if you can see the energy, even in the beginning when you think you're not seeing anything, it clears up a lot about who you're communicating, what kind of information is coming to you, and you can get going in a direction where you start getting real guidance and hooking up with synchronistic events unfolding, and you know that you're like on track. But you don't want to be getting guidance from any spirit that comes along, because they don't have a body and they would like to live through your body. And that's just straight the way it is. It just is how it is. These spirits want to run their energy through your life. They don't have a physical body. Whatever spirit it is, if it's not an archangel, Jesus, Mother Mary, the divine source creator, then it's a disembodied spirit. It wants to live life through your life. And undoing that, unwinding yourself from that. This is happening for people all over across the board. They don't know, no one knows that this is going on. These spirits are attracted to humans. They are speaking to you, and people think that they are their own thoughts that they're having. So I do think it is imperative at this time to develop your intuitive skills and begin to see and understand, you know, what is going on around you. And I can see how the Ouija board is the very, very beginning of convincing yourself, like, is any of this really even actually real? But there are other ways to go about that. So stay tuned. There's more to come.